The State Department said after the lopsided vote against the U.S., the threat to cut off future funding is real, and nations that cross the Trump administration will now receive extra scrutiny. Judging by this vote, however, it appears many of those countries came to the conclusion Mr. Trump's threat was more bluff than bite. Elaine?
Well, Major, as you know, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said Thursday it's, quote, appropriate for the president to put America first. Is there any way to gauge how serious President Trump's threat is? Is there any indication privately from advisors that members of his inner circle, for instance, would support the idea?
There are no details about how this would work or who might be affected. It's just a threat that's hanging out there. And for right now, this administration appears quite content to just have that rhetorical billboard out there. The Trump administration said, America first, and if you vote against us, you might lose your aid. That is consistent with the sort of general hostility that candidate Trump expressed about the United Nations and multinational organizations and multinational decision-making in general. So there is a pattern of consistency there. And right now, the administration is pretty content. Just have a billboard message out there that there's a wagging finger of disdain from the United States. And by the way, Elaine, an invitation to those nations that either voted with the United States or abstained on this vote to join Nikki Haley for a reception in honor of their solidarity with the United States. So there's a very definite public effort to reward those who stood with the United States or didn't vote to condemn the United States and threaten, at least threaten rhetorically, those who did not.
That's very interesting. Well, Major, what's the reality here? How complicated would it be to cut off funding to U.S. allies in the midst of the U.S.'s fight against terrorism?
It's complicated for that reason. It's also complicated in the sense that there are many recipients of United States foreign aid that are not directly linked to the war on terrorism or fighting extremism. And the United States is the global leader in providing humanitarian assistance and assistance when there are global disasters that smaller or less well economically nations that are in less good economic shape can deal with. And the United States does that not because it is only altruistic, but in its larger long-term self-interest. And one of the strongest advocates within this administration for that approach is the Defense Secretary, James Mattis, who often says, if you're not going to have a strong State Department, strong diplomacy, and strong forward-leaning American assistance to deal with some of these underlying issues, then you better give me more soldiers and more bullets because there's going to be more instability, not less.
All right, Major Garrett at the White House for us. Major, thank you so much.
Sure.